the conference center. We'll do an interview there, so we'll start with our work session on looking for the date. What even is
It's
the
the
date?
21st.
July
I'm out of town for a few days.
21st.
July 21st, I'm Commissioner Willows, last time I checked. I'm here with Commissioner Gage Ford. We'll expect Commissioner Harvey here shortly. Item 1 is discussion and or action for approval of the minutes for the commission work sessions held on June 30th, 2025 and July 7th, 2025.
Move to approve.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 2, discussion regarding the Far West Landing CRA proposal. Stephanie Russell, Ashlyn Tuckett is not here. Stephanie Ebert, Lauren Thomas, Sean Wilkinson, Doug Larson, and instead of Ken Pittman, we have council member
David J.
David J.
Yep.
Commissioners,
Stephanie.
really excited to present this. We've been working on this proposal for quite a while. And I really want to give Doug and his team and the mayor and his team some kudos for coming in. They had come in just right before we implemented our new policy. And they've been incredibly compliant with our new policy. Doug's presentation today is going to show you exactly what we asked for from the Economic Development Finance Committee. It's been a very seamless approach to putting this particular proposal together. They are going to be asking for county participation in an upcoming CRA that they're looking to implement in one of their development areas. It's a really great project for the city, and per our policy, we're looking at coming in and assisting them with some of their infrastructure lift for this particular project. So I'm going to turn the time over to Doug. He's got his presentation ready, and feel free to ask any questions as the presentation is moving.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for your time and your consideration, Stephanie. Is always great to work with. I was looking, just on a side note, I was looking back at some of the original communications that I'd sent to Mayor Pittman when Farr West City first reached out to me. That was over a year ago. So we've been talking about this for a year. We started with Stephanie, Weber County first in the school district. So it's been a good discussion. So Farr West City is proposing a community reinvestment project area labeled Far West Landing. You probably, without explanation, already know where the area is. This is I-15, I-84, 2700 North. The survey area has been officially recorded. It's about 50 acres. The only improved parcels are these three within the boundary are these three parcels that front 2700 North. Some of this I'll go through quickly because I know the two of you already know about some of these things, like the location. The proposed development is illustrated here. One of the key things in terms of infrastructure that this project area must have, and this has been a conversation among the cities and the county for years under the economic development umbrella, developing this area. Of course, know where the horseshoe pond is, and Sean is gracious said that the developer can dump all their sewage.
Yeah. My gosh, needs some load off.
For sure, yeah. But a key thing is access, of course, and so this road comes off 2700 North and runs along the west side. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. The 2024 base value for about 50 acres is 9.8 million. The developer's estimating the real estate valuations at full build out at just over 100 million. The city is asking for a 15-year term, 75% participation. We estimate the property tax increment will be just over $10 million. In addition to the $10.3 million in property tax increment, the city is also pledged to provide the development with $7 million in sales tax revenue, as well as $877,000 in fee waivers. Commissioner Harvey.
I chose to be last, and so I'm there. Thank you.
It's always good to make an end of this. For Commissioners Harvey's sake, Jim, is there anything you want me to start over?
Oh, I've seen some of this. Thank you.
Okay. So there's a conceptual graphic from the developer. They came up with a name. Originally it was Far West Marketplace. Now it's Far West Landing. The developer is the same, the developer for this project is the same developer that's redoing the Cache County Mall up in Logan. That's a complete tear down. They're installing a very similar design to this development. The Cache Valley development, or I should say the Logan City development, originally is proposed to have a hotel. Or this development will have a 260 unit multifamily asset as part of it as well. We push the right buttons. Again, south end, the housing development will be up on the north end. Stephanie alluded to this when she was introducing us. And the project, the tax increment for the project, both property tax and sales tax. Will both be strictly limited to public infrastructure reimbursement only. In addition, to the 10.3 million in property tax, $7 million in sales tax. Far West City and Pleasant View City were progressive a few years ago and made application for WACOG funds to get a jump start on that road, or at least get a jump start on the funding. So the project, if I can say it that way, already has 5.4 million in transportation funding from WACOG. Current estimates for that road project are about $15 million. That's that estimate is over a year old, so we certainly anticipate it will cost more than 15 million to build. In addition to the road, the water sewer technology, we're including public parking in the public infrastructure definition. The code supports that, as you guys know. And of course, the site preparation costs associated with the infrastructure and parking. The developers estimated site prep and infrastructure costs about 35 million, and we have the details on that if you're ever interested in seeing it. Over the 15-year term, the code requires that we have the 10% set aside for housing. The city's agency administration fee will be capped at 3%. All of the tax increment across all the proposed entities will be capped, and we can run through that. At this point, we anticipate, or the project anticipates triggering the TIF in 2028. So that's just kind of on the brink of, I think, your preferred trigger year from when agreements are signed. And as well as all the other entities have a similar preference for triggering TIF.
And the baseline will be 2024 value.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure we clarify, the county will not be participating in sales tax, just the property tax.
Yeah, Stephanie was great at making that very clear to the developer. And, you know, we can't blame the developer for being tenacious and asking more than once. But Stephanie did a very good job of helping them understand that, no, that was appropriate. Just again, a look at the conceptual on the multifamily on the north end. It's roughly 260 unit complex. We're providing that 10% housing revenue based on the valuations that have been developed over that 15-year period. We estimate housing set aside will be about $1.1 billion. So running through the list of why we think it's important that the public help support this project. A key thing. I'm gonna scroll back up. By 2029. The development agreement between the city and the developer. And that's what has taken this conversation to run well over a year now. Is that this part of the development must be an operating target by 2029. There was a point in the conversations last third quarter of 2024 where the negotiations on the amount of tax increment were kind of going back and forth. The developer came to the city with a very high ask, and that was fine. That started the conversation. The city was very diligent and I think wise at one point in the conversations. The city essentially told the developer to go away. And it was funny, the mayor said to the president of the development company, he said, when you're on your way to Logan, make sure you wave as you drive by, but do it with all 5 fingers. And so I just share that humor with you. Anyway, so that was a good point and a good pivot in the conversations and the negotiations. At that time, the developer was indicating, well, maybe we'll bring a Walmart, and we assessed that that was just a negotiation tactic. And so I think the city was smart to say, the dirt's not going anywhere. Let us know if you're interested. So they circled back about a month and a half later, and after many conversations, we are where we are now. So again, the development agreement requires that we have an operating target by 2029. The development agreement has not been finalized. It's currently in process, but the language within the development agreement indicates that if we don't have the target by 2029, then the tax increment goes away.
And I'd like to see that in our participation agreement. Lauren, want to make a note of that?
I think that would be helpful to let, the developer know this is a unified effort. And I think they've been actually, pleased and a little bit surprised at how well, all the cities and the entities and the county work together. So key thing, operating target. And I'll go back on that a little bit, when the developer first started talking about tax increment, the city's position was no sales tax, property tax only, and some fee waivers, because I'm sure, as you know, that Farr City has a very small property tax levy, and so that in that effort to make it, realistically fair. But when we when the city determined it would be a target for sure, and to help solidify the deal, they were willing to put sales tax on the table. One of the things with this site, developer, of course, had, study done on the soil and the geography. It's indicating that they have to bring 18 inches of fill across much of the site, and that's a pretty heavy lift. With Sonia Real Estate, they're out of Nebraska. We did, I think, a reasonably good job of vetting the developer and talking with other cities that they've done business with. And while their biggest frustration was their tenacity in negotiating, one of the cities that I spoke with, the city manager was also the city's attorney. And she said, just make sure that your development agreement is very tight and very disciplined, because they have a very good attorney. And so, as you may know, Far West City's attorney is Liam. So either it's Liam or Chris, and it doesn't get any better than that. So the city's working through a development agreement. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, but developer is legitimate. They have access to capital. They have developed a relationship with Target. The development project up in Logan also includes a target. So that gave us some confidence that they do have that relationship, and that part of it will move forward. And I think having the access to capital and the ability to finance this project, it's about a $230 million project, and we'll look at some numbers real quickly. That's certainly important in order to get this project moving forward sooner than later. Having tax increment trigger dates are really important in defining as to why we all have those expectations about when tax increment can trigger, so we can assure that a project's gonna move forward. I mentioned earlier, I mentioned earlier, that area of the county and the city has been a focus on economic development for as long as I can remember. And so I think the city's at a point where they finally have someone at the table that has the wherewithal to move the project forward. So the whys or the but for are really about timing, site preparation costs, and the strength of the developer. You all see that better now? So total development costs from the developer, about $224 million. As I mentioned earlier, we have $5.4 million coming in from WACOG property tax increment. Net of administration is at 10.1 million. Tarawa Cities agreed to waive fees in the amount of $877,000 with sales tax increment at 7 million. That sales tax increment is gonna be tiered over a 15-year period. The first 5 years of the sales tax increment will be at 100%. The second 5 years will be at 85%, and the last 5 years will be at 80%. It'll generate that some.
The sales tax, one of the things that I really, when we met with our economic development finance committee, one of the things that I really liked about this deal and the structure of this deal, if you can see, the city's coming out of the gate with only 10% of public financing of this project. And that's really important to note, because a lot of times we'll see proposals come into us that exceed that 10%. And projects need to be able to float on their own, and a good deal, a good incentive makes a good deal better. It doesn't make or break the project. And this is a really good example of the city doing their due diligence and coming up and keeping that cap on that 10%, which is why our committee feels that, because they're only utilizing the tax increment for infrastructure, we don't have a problem going up to that 75%, because they're also staying under that 10%. So we are just a portion of that 10, what are we? Yeah, and that's all the tax increment. So we're even smaller than that. So this is a really good structure moving forward to set a precedence on the types of projects the county would like to participate in, and at the rate we'd like to participate in, and at the percentage that we'd like to participate in. Sorry, I just wanted to emphasize that. And then what's really fantastic, what he's gonna show you in just a second, is our return on investment as we're giving up this tax increment. Doug's gonna show you what we're gonna get back in sales tax, and that's kind of important too. So I didn't mean to cut you out,
No,
but I wanted to make sure
please.
we all had an understanding of why we were very interested in participating in this project.
No, please keep that up. So from an investment perspective, and this is the analysis on return investment is only about assets. It's not about revenue, right? And so if we think about the $23 million in public money going to infrastructure, against the estimated valuation of the real estate, and that ROI is over 1,000%. As you can see from this bottom table, Weber County currently getting about $18,000 in property tax revenue off that 50 acres. Your average annual revenue coming in net of the base over that 15-year period is $44,000. Post period, a little over $200,000. I think the important thing to think about for the county is this part of it. So based on the valuations, we're estimating that the county will provide $2 million. That $2 million is the cap that's in your interlocal agreement. So if we take that $2 million, we divide it by 15 years, that's $130,000 a year contribution on average. But if we look at this, the new property tax that you're getting over that 15-year period, this is not the base, this is the 25%. It's 44 grand a year. You're gonna pick up as an annual average over that 15-year period, $265,000 a year in sales tax revenue. So approximately $300,000 a year in new revenue while you're participating at 75%. So you'll recapture that $2 million in 6.5 years. And I think that's an important thing, all the while, generating new revenue. And so the estimated total revenue for the county over that 15-year period is $4.6 million. So those are the numbers. What questions might you have about the development or for the city? Or otherwise?
Questions?
Questions, yeah, so you mentioned targets, was this a big box retail? Is that
Retail
what
store.
the primary
Yes.
tenant mix is gonna be?
Yep.
And what is the deadline, or when's your timeline for your development agreement? Because I'm not sure we want to get too serious about this until we know we
We
have,
have that development agreement.
until we have a development agreement.
As soon as possible, and it's really almost more important to the developer than the city at this point.
Okay.
And so the developer and the city are working diligently on getting that done, and I think based on the communications I've seen between the attorneys, that we are very close to that.
Well, so my only concern would be, I don't wanna get ahead of the development agreement.
Sure, I
So
agree with that.
That's number one concern. Second concern is that we don't want to go past whatever that 2029, so our. Our contract would have to mirror that, hey, if this thing doesn't take place, everything comes off the table.
We'll put that
I
claw
don't-
back in.
I don't wanna get in, I won't mention any names, we have cities out there that tend to maybe drag things on. 15 years, 20 years later, they come back,
Yeah,
so either this is gonna work or it's not,
yeah.
that's.
So part of our new MO for our participation agreements is that they have a clawback in them,
Right.
and they have a cap, and they have a trigger deadline.
Yeah.
So those are the three that.
So we got our
Lauren-
caps, we got our trigger, we know the
Yeah.
percentage, appears to be in line, but those are the
Mhm.
two. Cleanup items.
Yeah.
Become very important.
And we agree completely on your thoughts about, let's get the development agreement done before you entertain formally as a commission and then a local agreement. It doesn't, because the development agreement is really the driver for this. So,
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Questions, Commissioner Harvey?
I do, a few actually. Going back to your map, I just wanna make sure that, the two cities, you did mention Pleasant View in your presentation. Keep going back if you would, this overall map. There's a road you show going through there. I wanna make sure that road connectivity goes over to the allocation of the funds that came through WACOG, over the tracks. You know what I'm talking about, coming,
Yes.
it would eventually come over off the north. They call it Skyline Drive, whatever that road is, that's what Pleasant View calls it, coming down off the hill. And then it comes down and it goes in that, and then it kind of S's around to give a little more delay over the tracks.
Yes,
I just wanna make sure that would connect to this development,
yes, it connects into to Pleasant View City.
okay?
Pleasant View is actually managing the WACOG funding for this road project.
That makes sense with that money. That's part of the reason I saw that growth up there and that I was in favor of that growth there.
They have to acquire some of the property on the southwest corner
Yeah.
of that previous mobile home park in order to bring that loop around there.
Mhm.
And as I understand it, that's going along all right now.
Yeah, it's
Good
going well.
progress up there with them doing their side of that to
Correct.
hook this in.
So the funding for this road project from 89 serpentining over which you know is a real thing to the railroad tracks, is a big deal.
That's what you're thinking, because we're not anywhere near the tracks with this.
No, I know you're not. I'm talking about future. I'm talking about 20 or 30 years, however, when it ever does. So that's what I'm thinking, is I'm not thinking about today, I'm thinking about tomorrow. That's the first thing. The second thing is normally speaking, this body, especially me, we never consider any type of funding for residential. A third of their cost, is in residential, which is a concern to me. That'll be 12 buildings, at least 12 buildings, an office building and 11 residential buildings, just simple calculation on that. The triggers are good, the baseline good, the cap was okay, but I just, you know, I'm still probably a little tender. I wish the mayor were here.
Ask.
Yeah, I wish the mayor were here. Less than 10 months ago, he kicked my teeth in for adding 275 more rooftops. Just on the other side of that freeway. And if it wasn't for rooftops, Woodsonia wouldn't even be courting this idea. And that's probably the other reason why that works. I'm a little, I can have a conversation with him about that. Adding rooftops, I think this is a great, fantastic place for a commercial space. I'm not so much, if I'm not there all the way because of the residential piece on that, what I see as an incredibly valuable commercial space there. To put a third of that investment into rooftops, and I know they're trying to diversify their portfolio with their rents and how they get that commercial and residential. I would do the same thing if it were me, but I don't like the residential piece right along the freeway.
That's not
Just saying.
residential there, that's commercial, the little pads. These,
This is
that's the residential up
Yeah,
north,
that's right.
and the other stuff right along the freeway is commercial.
I'm sorry, maybe I don't
It's not
understand what,
adjacent, but it's along the freeway.
it's along the freeway.
The north end, yeah.
Yeah,
there.
along the freeway. I mean, say that, I see that, it's freeway frontage, it's exposure to the freeway. It's 300,000 car count a day, as you well know. I just would rather see that in a commercial piece rather than a residential.
There's,
For me to have a buy-in.
and you know, one additional comment that I don't think I made during our discussion or presentation. In order to get the 10% tax increment, developer will have to structure the lease rates amenable to the targeted and moderate income housing opportunity, so that'll help the city achieve its moderate income housing plan,
Sure.
which everybody's working towards.
I mean, I get it, I understand, and that's.
One of the problems we've had in Far West is that we have no apartment structure at all in that city. And with what the state is pushing in terms of moderate and affordable income housing, or whatever term you want to use for it, this is our best first step into that arena of housing. It's in a place where there are no adjacent residential neighborhoods. It's in a place where it's going to create the least amount of public recoil about the idea of an apartment even coming in. And so with that, along with this, we've viewed this as kind of a win-win. We'll bring some higher density housing into the city without intruding into the space that's adjacent to established neighborhoods already. Because we know we're gonna get a lot of kickback if that starts to happen, given the way
Oh,
Far
yeah.
West is structured.
You'll get it done.
We'll get some on this,
Sure.
but I think because of where it is, we're in a good position to say it's isolated. It will fit very well with what's going on here, because you know the nature of a Target has everything. Those people don't have to go very far to get to groceries and clothing and housewares. This thing will kind of feed itself in some ways with the residential there, with that component next to these larger retail units. So we saw it as a good fit.
Thank you. So there, that again, just going back to, you can see the road that I'm speaking of. It's a frontage road, and then it S is around on this map at the top. I would just hope, and I'll do a little more homework, that road that S is around at the very top links into the road that we funded through the
Mhm.
transportation committee.
That's the intent.
Goes to the winery.
Yeah, that's the intent right now is that those will hook up.
I think that's one of the businesses over there. Yeah, I think that is one. So, and just so that I'm clear, and some of you in the room will know this, the boundary between Pleasant View and the boundary between, Far West is the old rail line, right? Okay. Yeah.
And Jim as well, you weren't here when we first started talking. Mayor Fippen was certainly planning on being here, but apologizes that he couldn't be. He had a family issue that.
Yeah, I understand. No problem.
It's important.
I'll have another discussion with him about
We'll
that.
have opportunity to talk.
Stephanie, we're out of time, but will you,
This was just very,
no,
that was
that's
their first
great. I was
presentation.
gonna say before we quit, can you just briefly talk about the housing component?
So our portion of the tax increment would only go towards the road.
Right.
And we can put whatever restrictions we want into our participation agreement. For them to capitalize on that 10%, when you create a CRA, 10% of it has to go towards affordable housing. That's what they wanna do, is use that component. Plus, it's like Jim said too, it also brings those rooftops in.
Mhm.
And it fulfills part of the mandate that the state has put on Far West and some of our other cities to do an affordable housing component as well as higher density. That's part of their overall strategy that the city's been working on to implement this type of housing into their inventory. So just from multiple standpoints, the housing component does make sense with this particular development. It's not dissimilar to what we're doing with the Weaver block, in that we're,
Mhm.
in order for it to really pencil, you've gotta have that mixed use
Right.
component.
Right,
So
and so thanks for explaining that, and it appears to meet our ordinance in all the other ways.
our policy, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and whatever you guys don't feel comfortable with, we can put into the participation agreement. That's what's great about that, is the flexibility we have to put clawbacks, to put
Mhm,
termination
mhm.
dates, to put mandates that it can only be used for this. The last one we did, that Lauren structured, she has a template, and it actually goes into detail on reporting. Annual reporting that the city has to do to make sure that we know where our dollars were spent, and we can bring that back to you in case you need to speak to that as a commission. And you can say, no, we did participate in this, but our dollar amount went to this piece of road. And we can structure the
Mhm,
interlocal
yeah.
agreement to specify that.
Okay. All right, well, for the purpose of today, I think that's,
This was a first presentation. We thought we would move it forward from there.
yeah, I think it's a good explanation and, yeah,
For you guys to think about.
perfect,
Right.
We'll wait to hear back
That's great.
what you'd like to do in the
Okay.
future.
great, thank you.
Thank
Get
you.
after Mayor Fippen and say, why did you send that guy down?
No, you've done very well.
Appreciate you being here.
We have worked 2 years on this project since the initial approach by Woodsonia
This,
to try to do something here.
you sent.
It's
two-
come a
two
long
parcel
way.
lists.
They've walked away
The
from the
first
table,
one.
what, Doug, at least 5 times?
It's an exempt property.
Hang on, David.
I'm sorry.
At 0. And
Hey,
you.
Stephanie, do you want
in your
to send
parcel.
those in? Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's always affect your base value a little bit.
Sometimes that's what it takes. They make a good deal.
Well,
But the other thing is too, since you started 2 years, there's been more rooftops added, and that's what's sweet, that's what tipped them the other way,
well, they wanted to put a hotel in there originally.
which would have been great.
Sorry.
We'd have
No,
preferred
no,
that. I'm all over that. Put a hotel there instead of on the high density.
It was gonna be free.
Yeah, I'm all over that. You need it out there. And I can tell you that the Visitors Bureau will confirm and help you make those numbers
I
right.
think that's gone, but
That's, I'm okay with that.
have I done what I need to do?
You've done great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, item 3 on our agenda, discussion regarding irrigation easement on county-owned rail trail parcel.
I don't
Mendoza.
like variances.
I think I'm gonna let Sean
Thanks again.
and Gary take most of this. Oh, here are the parcel numbers if we have.
Do you need,
Can we get together?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay as this is a public meeting if you like.
No, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah. Smart man.
Thanks, Sean. I get started just a little bit.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I guess you should.
Yes.
She already turned over to you.
Oh,
I did.
Oh, is the
Oh,
time
sorry.
ours?
thank you very much.
I did that like 6 minutes ago. No, we are running game.
That's what it's gonna be.
Happy birthday once removed, by the way.
What's removed?
Happy birthday once removed.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
It's clever. Commissioners, the county has been contacted by a landowner out west. Sean's bringing up GeoGizmo and we can show you the parcels. The gentleman's name,
Riker Wells.
Riker.
Right. What else?
Riker's asked the county if the county would consider granting an irrigation easement. It's extensive, it's lengthy, it's nearly 3,000 feet. We'll show you the parcel here, but it would lie within a rail trail parcel. And the easement that he's been asking for is 10 feet. I've asked for more information, some very specific questions. For example, do you want a 20-foot construction easement shrinking down to 15 or 10 for maintenance or something? To me, it seems hard to build an irrigation ditch just within 10 feet. So these three gentlemen have gone out, met with Riker. They've taken a look at the rail bed, the parcel. I think Gary has confirmed with the surveyor's office that the existing fence is pretty
close.
is fairly dependable as far as the property line. And then these three gentlemen can describe exactly what Riker's request was. And the impacts on the property.
If you go down past the Plain City, sewer and dump and that, it's right at the end there, at the end of the road. Just, he owns some property there, but he wants to tie into the canal, which is clear to the west, which will show you here, so. And
So if you've ever been to Plain City's lagoons, you get to them right here on this road right here. You just keep going down here to where that road intersects the old rail bed right here. That rail bed runs kind of east and west and was deeded to the county through different transactions once the rail company went inoperable. The intention was that it was a public thoroughfare, which it has been utilized and maintained as such for the rail trail that's out there. It's an old rail bed. It's currently used by recreationists, hiking, walking, biking, that kind of stuff. Mr. Wells approached us and he wanted to utilize the existing north slope of the rail bed. Keep in mind, the rail bed is old historic slag that it was built out there in that country. That country, the ground out there, when you have high water and then you've got collapsible soils, they kind of just mounded up the slag to build what the rail corridor consists of today. Mr. Wells wanted to use the north slope of that embankment of rocks and stuff as one of the banks of a canal he'd like to build, and then he wanted to pile dirt north of that to create a channel, if you will, that was half dirt, half the rail corridor to convey water from an existing irrigation ditch that he was trying to secure rights from that parallel. You've got the Dixie Creek here. Is that Dixie or Salt? I can't recall which one. I get them mixed up out there. At any rate, you've got a natural drainage right here, which sits quite low, and then directly adjacent to it, you have a irrigation canal that it's managed by what's the Marriott's irrigation company?
Great Western, yeah.
Something Mountain.
Mountain.
Mountain Irrigation, I believe, is this current ditch. So that ditch sits probably, what would you say, Bill and Sean, 10 feet higher, maybe 8 feet higher than the drainage. And that ditch carries water that he would turn water out into the channel he wanted to create directly adjacent to ours, which he would then try and push it down to his property. He owns this property directly north of the lagoons and the rail trail, right in this area. So, couple of concerns I had, number one, using the rail bed embankment as one of the sites for his trail, that's not gonna hold water very well. Water's gonna start to percolate into that quite quickly, rapidly, I guess is the correct word. Secondly, anytime we as a county have channels that are open ditches that we have to maintain, we have to go in there periodically, grub them out, get rid of the vegetation. I brought that up and Mr. Wells mentioned, well, he says, I'd be happy to do that. However, as I had some concerns about that, about the frequency, how it would be done, if it would be done in the correct depth of grubbing. Our guys kind of have that down to a science and do that all the time periodically and are familiar with what needs to happen. This would be a bit of a learning curve if he were to maintain that and operate that maintenance. So I mentioned to him, I said, how about a pipe? I said, I'd be a lot more comfortable with a pipe for your water to run in rather than an open ditch, because then you don't get the soft soil saturation that you get with an open ditch. You don't get the vegetation and infusion that you get. And he didn't love that idea because it's expensive to pipe all that, as well as if you ever had to maintain it, jetting water down the pipe felt prohibitive to him, or at least costly. And so he was really strongly pushing and for the open channel. My recommendation would be probably to not allow the open channel easement. One thing to consider, commissioners, we allow utilities in our right of ways all the time. However, those utilities are generally in kind of a contained system, whether it's piped, whether it's conduits, or whether it's aerial on poles that are self-governing, self-sustaining, that kind of thing. It's not generally something that requires that ongoing maintenance into perpetuity. Irrigation ditches do have some of those, and those do exist, but they're slowly trying to pipe them and get them contained as well too. It's better for the irrigation company. So that would be my recommendation to you guys as commissioners, that we not allow the open channel rather than a close. If we allowed anything, we would require him to not only purchase the easement, but also pipe the conveyance system.
Gary, will you address our request to get elevations?
Yeah,
Previous visit with him.
yeah, we did meet out there on site with Mr. Wells February or so of this year, I believe. One of the other concerns I had was due to the elevation of the ground out there, commissioners, there's a definite low point or belly in the area that he has to cross right in this area, which initially upon first site visit felt like it would be a little bit of a impedance for him to have to go down into a low spot and then have the water build and get back up down to there. He felt confident. He talked to somebody and had some elevation shot. I don't know if it was by a survey company or what means and methods he determined it, but he felt confident that he had enough fall. However, I still believe that you'd have to have a certain amount of swell of the water you turn into it if it's in an open channel situation to build enough to go up that slight rise right there, if that makes any sense, what I'm describing. I talk more with my hands probably than I do with my mouth, but anyway, hopefully that makes sense. So,
Gary, I'm happy to support your recommendation. I don't know how the others feel. Commissioner Harvey?
When I first sat down before you even started talking, I thought if we're gonna allow, well, first off, we've got an asset out there in the rail trail for active transportation. I don't want in any way impede that or to compromise that. I thought, well, I'd like to be able to find a way to say yes to Mr. Wells. But as I sat down here, I thought he'd have to be willing to put that in a pipe for me and bury that pipe. And so that sounds to me like what your answer is. And I can see why his jetting's a problem now because of that swell. You know, I don't know if he knows that or not, but that would make sense to me. That's just how, for me, in order to say yes for me, a buried pipe would be my vote.
Commissioner Ford?
well, I've got both piped and open ditches. I'll tell you which one takes a lot more time and effort and a pain in the, you know what, than the open ditch. So, no, and I happen to know, well, I knew him years ago. He grew up in the neighborhood out in West Haven. Probably a good kid. Jay Wells is his dad, but Yeah. unless he's willing to pipe it, I just don't see that this works, so.
If he-
And I don't think it works for him, quite honestly.
No, I agree.
Knowing that soil out there, and then he comes back, what concerns me, we allow him to do it, and then certain time down the road, somebody inherits it,
Yeah,
they come back, well, why'd you allow this to happen? County come in and fix it.
yeah,
I don't think we wanna take that risk, Madam Chair.
And I don't think we wanna impede the rail trail. I
No,
agree,
Yeah.
so.
I think his intentions are the best.
No,
at hand, and I think he's trying to
sure they are.
improve his property, right, to make it more viable and more
Yeah.
beneficial to him. I think his intentions are good, but I agree with Commissioner Farr. I think running this as an open channel, just.
Yeah.
Gonna be a bigger hurdle than he probably wants to deal with,
Yeah.
so.
It's in the best interest of everybody, including him, even though he probably doesn't understand that now, to pipe it.
Absolutely,
If we, and that's even if, we allow him to do that.
yeah,
I still have some
The
concerns
purchase
with that.
easement.
Look, he gets a little more value out of his property because that's being drained and and he's not having to pay for
Mhm.
the easement. I mean, it's.
Well, he would have to pay for it, I think, so.
yeah.
We're taking water to him, but he'd have to pay for it. That's why I was gonna ask Gary to kind of talk about what that would be.
Yeah, and we did kind of talk through the cost of that easement. Generally, something like this, we would call a perpetual or never-ending easement, right? And those generally have a value of about 50% of the purchase price of the property. We talked with
That's not.
some assessors and whatnot, and we kind of figured we could go off tax valuation maps out there and come up with a 50% value. We would put it on him to come up with meets and bounds descriptions of what that would look like, but still, that's gonna have cost, as with the pipe and all those things add cost to the bottom line to make that property profitable, if that makes
So
sense.
if you let him know that we're willing to entertain that purchase of the easement, if he wants to pipe it, then I think, yes, you can come back.
Okay, that's perfect. That's awesome. Thanks, commissioners.
And pipe type?
Yeah, great point, Scott. Commissioners, what we've seen out there is that the nature and types of soils that are out there are kind of hot. And so my preference would be that it's either plastic or concrete that can withstand the acidic nature of the soil. Historically, we've seen out there where historically the railroad back in the days, all they had was corrugated metal and that's what they installed, or whether sometimes they build wooden trusses. And the metal pipe just does not withstand the soil conditions out there. It's the alkali is too high, the salt's too high. It just eats right through those metal pipes. So-
18 or 12 inch.
So he seemed to think a 12 would be enough for him, Commissioner Farr. And I'll let him do his own calculations with his engineer of what he needs to convey that, right? Based on his water rights and what he can get a hold of, but yeah. Yeah, thank you, Scott. That's a good clarification. My recommendation would be a pipe that can withstand that corrosive nature. So,
Okay,
Good recommendation.
okay, thank you.
yeah, thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Almost back on schedule.
We're close.
You're close.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's bring that up, Scott.
Sure.
Another briefly.
Oh, good to talk to the sheriff again, Dan.
They're on sale.
What's that?
We get to talk to the sheriff again today.
I can hardly contain myself.
Yeah. How lucky are we?
And
That's good. Be very informative.
Like next group.
Yes, please, Sean, thanks.
How are you?
Welcome.
Hello.
Lisa, Britt.
We're a little behind, I apologize, but we're gonna get caught up. So thanks for your patience. Item 4 on our agenda, discussion regarding paramedics. Chief Britt Clark, Lisa Schwartz, and I don't see Jason. Oh, there he is. I do see Jason.
Oh,
Brian Barron's here.
close the door on him.
Chris Crockett.
Sorry, Jason.
Commissioners, Chief Clark reached out to me a couple of weeks ago. With the change of Eli from emergency management over to the sheriff's office. He wanted to give some recommendations on what happens to paramedics. So. Chief, I just asked, to come in here and be briefly share what your thoughts are. If it's something that the commissioners are interested in, I think we'll go ahead and expand the conversation to the other
Yeah.
chiefs who are involved, so.
Yeah.
Time is yours.
So my thought was the paramedic, but also the heavy rescue and the hazmat programs, they all kind of flow through Lisa, right now. With Eli stepping out, there's gotta be somebody to step in and kind of fill that liaison, I guess, between the county and the fire. And it's what we do for a living. We're the county's fire service, and if we were with the county, you guys would just look at me and say, take it. Because that's what we do for a living. So my thoughts is to work something out through Lisa and Jason about how you want us to handle it on that end. Maybe filling in where Eli kind of left off, moving with the things that happened. And I would really love to put together a committee, overall committee with all the chiefs in the county that would run all these, and then some subcommittees for the paramedic, the heavy rescue, and the hazmat, which actually are in place right now, but they would just answer to the committee of the chiefs and the county and just rotate like a president and a vice president throughout the year and make it a little bit more fully inclusive of all the county entities. I think one of the strengths of the fire service in Weaver County is that we work well together. And the only way that we continue to work well together is if we have transparency and everybody's involved and everyone has a say on all of it. And I think there's a great opportunity to really jump in, and it's been an idea that's been around there for a while, but it hasn't fully been executed. I would like to see it get executed. So as far as details go, I think it would be something that Lisa and Jason and myself would have to work out on what exactly they want us to do to bring to them. But other than that, I don't know. Do you have any questions? Or Lisa, do you have anything? Or?
Yeah, Lisa, would you add your thoughts on this? I know that when Eli initially took the position at the sheriff's office, he said, I don't know that much about paramedics, but I'm happy to learn, but this looks like an opportunity to bring in Chief Clark, the other chiefs, and have them kind of take it.
We do have someone that will be replacing Eli, and he's outstanding. He's got a lot of experience in business and is really good. He does have a lot in law enforcement, military, and he has hazmat. He does have hazmat, so that is one thing that we will have that available. So, but I think that I'm fine with that. I think that that's a good to get everybody involved, especially with the committees and subcommittees. But I would like to still have things come through us before they're paid. Because the reason that you guys assigned us is just to make sure that there's no crossover, because some of the training and equipment is paid by Homeland Security. Some of it is paid by the county budget, particularly for search and rescue. So I think that I still would like to see what that is, so we make sure that there's no crossover, no double payment between the grants, because that puts all of us in the whole region at risk if there is anything that gets by that's not supposed to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It jeopardizes all of the grants.
Yeah, and I have a pretty good handle on it where I've been involved in it as much as I have, and kind of, I guess my vision of it would be the committee would work directly with you on how it goes, and then however you want us to submit things to Jason to get it
As
paid.
long as I can get an eye on it before it's approved.
Yeah, and Jason, probably speaking for Jason, but yeah, he's probably just gonna want to pay what's approved anyway. Right, however it comes through.
Yeah,
Well,
so this is interesting. Go ahead.
It's not that simple, but
It's not that, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Is it's not that simple. And Scott Park was involved as well as far as reimbursements and different things like that. So my biggest thing is thinking about how this was before. There was a time where information was being passed through the chain pretty slowly, to the point where I would get a phone call and it would be, where is this? And I'm like, well, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. So I worked with Britt for quite a while now, and that's not the case with Britt. And so I don't want to get in a situation where Lisa's busy doing the things that she's doing and things kind of get left by the wayside. That's what I would want to avoid. I think the committee thing is a really good idea. The thing that was good about Eli is he kind of understood all of it and he spoke the language. And when it comes to some of the very specific nuances of paramedic, fire, and whatever else, I don't speak that language, right? I'm just making sure that things are done they're done legally from the standpoint of procurement, and then anywhere else that I can help. I don't actually pay the invoicing either. And so that would actually be Lisa or this new hire or whatever else, because it doesn't make sense and it's not a correct way to do it, to not only do the procurement side of things, but pay the invoice, because that leaves all sorts of things open to me being able to get away with shady stuff, right? I need to be one or the other.
You know that we have been doing it where, we will put the invoice in. And then I don't put it in, the position Valerie or, Eli's old position would put it in, and then I would approve. So that gives that separation there. With help coming, I've got employees that are gonna be coming, so my time isn't going to be as difficult as it is right now with just one employee in the office, so this should not be an issue. I have some experience, I have a hazmat, ops certification. I have some experience with hazmat and with USAR to some degree, so I may not recognize all of the things maybe like Eli did, but I'm pretty familiar with quite a bit of it.
Well, hopefully if we were involved, we could maybe have everything sorted out, so there's very little issues when it comes to billing. I know it gets pretty complicated, especially with the USAR and the two funds coming out of it, but I've got a pretty good handle on it, but she'll be paid from where.
So much as I am USAR. That's how we need to really watch, because it's that and hazmat where the funding can come from SHSP as well. We have to make sure that it's not duplicated with county funds.
And that was always Eli's, so that's good that she brings that up and she's aware. That was a big deal, double dipping and things like that, so.
So I apologize, I had to step out, but the synopsis, it sounds like, is that we like the committee idea.
Well, I like the committee idea. I do have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Heavy rescue. It started out of Riverdale. Where is it now?
It's still in Riverdale.
Don't they pay for that now? Doesn't this take a financial burden away from Riverdale if we were to put it under our?
I don't know that, are you talking about, does the county pay Riverdale to manage it?
No,
Yeah, because they don't,
no, we don't. I know that.
yeah.
And that's not what I'm talking about. If we were to take it, if this idea where we talk about this heavy rescue. Does it increase the encumbrance on the county where right now that is being borne by Riverdale City?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'd still have the three heavies in the county. Weber has one and Ogden has one. Nothing would change that way, and I don't think it would cause any burden on the county.
Isn't that interesting? That's the first time I've learned of that. I thought the only heavy rescue, according to when, what's his name came in here and told us that they were the only heavy rescue. Riverdale, and they're going up to Morgan. That's the way I understood it. That they were the only heavy rescue.
Riverdale.
Yeah,
No, I thought we had.
Yeah, so
I
the
think
county,
Ogden had one.
the county has actually purchased the heavy rescue vehicle that's in Riverdale.
that's
Right.
what it
That
was.
was the purchase on the vehicle.
That was the
Yeah.
purchase on that. That's
Ogden,
right.
Ogden and Weber have units, but
Yeah.
we purchased those units.
Yeah,
So,
correct. That's how I remember.
yeah, and hopefully they're not going up to Morgan too often, because they're not supposed to.
Well, that was part of the deal back then. I mean, listen, there's just so much history with that.
And it becomes complicated because again, with the heavy rescue and the USAR, we have like two pots we're working out of. We have the county and we have the USAR, and there's certain functions that each one of them pay for. And when you're talking about USAR, you're talking about a region and it has very specific things it pays for. And if Morgan requested it, then we'd be obligated to go because we're part of a region. But then there's things, usually the things that they request that the region doesn't pay for and they don't get. And the county pays for, and it's the common things like swift water, extrication, stuff like that. The region does not pay for that, and Morgan shouldn't get it for free, and we should not be responding up there for free. And I know we did propose for them to sign an MOU that put a price tag per hour on that, and Morgan pretty much dropped that one as fast as we suggested it. So I don't know where it
We
is
need
with
to bring
that.
that back up.
No, I don't think we should be going up there without an MOU saying that they're gonna pay us.
Yeah, but the
X amount
thing
of
about
dollars.
it is that when something goes to crap, you guys still go help.
Mhm.
And then we've got no MOU, so we need to.
Yeah, if our guys are dispatched, they're gonna go, and that's the way they're taught to do, and we'll deal with the issues later, but I agree, we should have an MOU with them and they shouldn't be getting it for free because our citizens are paying for that. Theirs aren't, so
Okay, so
That's all the questions I have, thank
any
you.
questions?
Yeah, I do. So I think you've proven that the chiefs work well together. I'm assuming that's gonna be your committee again.
yeah.
So I don't have any problem with the committee. I guess my question is what I get concerned about is any time you have a committee, who's gonna be responsible to get that down to actually the point that's gonna communicate with Jason, so we don't have a communication breakdown. Committees aren't necessarily good as far as walking out of a room and being able to tell Jason. In fact, it needs to have a contact point from that committee to execute.
I would hope that
So,
what's that?
Is that your chair?
Yeah, I would hope that the chair would always be Weaver Fire District because we can
okay,
communicate directly with her all the time and that can be a consistent.
That
It
makes
is.
sense to have a consistent and then,
Yeah.
and then vice chair, whatever other roles, if subcommittees could change. you
Yeah, they
know,
could change yearly and so
yearly,
everyone,
but if the chair was the same.
so the chair would stay the same, and the chair would be
Same
responsible
agency.
to, okay, well, that's, as long as it's that, I just think there needs to be a clear line.
I agree.
Sometimes committees can get, their own ideas and directions, and I think that the bylaws of that committee need to be set up that are very clear on what the communication would be.
I agree.
If not, Jason's gonna be over here going, what the heck just happened? How come I didn't learn about this 3 months ago? He can be not the nicest person at times when he's been seen in a while, so.
He's talking about now.
Be careful.
Sky.
The only thing, and maybe I missed this when I stepped out. Is bringing the other chiefs in. And having this discussion with everyone. I know there's some, territorial issues in first responders. And it just, maybe other agencies wanna take a crack at being that point person, that chair. Let's just have the conversation with everybody.
So I have talked with Chief Slater a little bit about it. And also the chief of Northview, just conceptually, and they like it, but we could definitely come together and talk
That's what I'd like to
specifics.
see.
Yeah,
I'd love to support Weaver Fire, but I'd want support of all the other chiefs too.
Make sure everybody's on the same page.
So let's make that our next meeting. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
yeah, and that's kind of the thought of this is to just
Yeah.
bring some transparency and some consistency to it.
I'd like to see that.
And I mean, it benefits every citizen of Weaver County if we're all working together.
Yeah.
All the time, instead of duplicating efforts across the county.
I think it would also hold accountability for those that are doing the training. Because sometimes we don't hear all the time with what equipment that they are wanting to purchase and what
Mhm.
training they want to do. And that's really important communication because we've had issues in the past, like last year, where they didn't submit their equipment requests in time. And that made it very tough for Jason to pay that bill at that late of a date. So we've told them September 1st is when they need to start getting any equipment purchases for this year. So I think the committee would allow us to talk about those things on a consistent basis so that our timelines and those things that we need to get done and are communicated and we don't fall through the cracks because it can be really hard just gathering all of that documentation about who went to what training. So.
Yeah, and I think the committee is the piece we're missing right now, because those subcommittees are basically functioning right now. But we don't have that
Next level.
connection above it that filters it all down to Lisa. So,
All right, let's work on that next meeting then. Lisa. We'll
Okay.
with you. We'll get that work session scheduled.
Okay.
and I'll get ahold of the chiefs and see if we
Okay.
can all get
Yeah.
together one day and talk about it and see what their thoughts are.
Thank you,
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
thanks.
Sorry, I didn't call on you. Did you have something to add?
No, I've already, you took off on
Oh,
that.
you did add something.
I think it's good. We ought to keep in mind too that budget hearing is coming up.
Mhm.
And so this is an opportunity where even if we look into the future, that the committee could probably get everything figured out beforehand as far as what the needs are. Cause Lisa brings up a good point. In the past, there have been issues where we weren't notified of things that needed to be, but it is getting better. I mean, I think you can attest to that. Where they come together. And so this could be an opportunity where the committees get all of the legwork done ahead of time. And then maybe we get together, the 3, 4, 10 of us, whatever, before we actually come to the commission and present that idea of what the next cycle of budget looks like. So
Great, okay, great.
we think JH.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Change.
JH. I'm a JH too. Thanks.
Thanks, Gage.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you again. Yeah, we'll see you.
That's okay, Lisa.
Here's your way.
Well, one of you send the others in, please. Brian or Jason, thank you. I thought he said Jage and he was combining your names.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like,
what's-
you're Jage now?
Jage.
JH.
Jage.
Jage.
We just got a letter from Royce Eccles.
You're kidding me.
Citing cases regarding a tax appeal.
Who's this?
Royce Eccles, we think ChatGPT made up.
Yeah?
We think Chat GPT what?
Made up the cases he's citing to the state tax committee. I just put in ChatGPT, did you write this? And it said, there's a possibility we did.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh, that's funny. I hope Stephanie's gonna be here too.
Who's Royce? I just wanted to see.
He was the one that hired that attorney.
I thought that was Royal.
Great course.
I am.
Is Royce and Murray loyal?
You have anybody with you who's gonna be here past the end of the week?
We could invite Steph in the short run, she's gonna take over, like, in the interim until so my position's supposed to open today. In the interim, I just have been saying, everybody just, if she doesn't know, she'll be able to find out.
When it's closed, maybe I'll apply.
Has Ricky talked to you? I don't know, he was coming to talk to you guys.
He's gonna come after our meeting.
In a little bit.
I pitched an idea to him to try to make whoever
Oh, boy.
takes my place not die on the first day.
Yeah, let's keep them around at least a week or two.
Yeah.
Just put all of our budget rooms in the down.
Well, we don't necessarily need Stephanie here. You can just fill her in, Scott. I
Yeah.
don't mind in the next day or two.
Yeah.
All right, discussion regarding law enforcement funds. Our presentation to the cities, Sheriff Ryan Arbon, Chief Deputy. Well, it's a long title, and you just don't say chief. Chief Deputy Josh Guard, Scott Park, Julie Stoddard, and Chris Crockus sit with us. Sheriff, you're listed first. I don't know if you want to take the reins, if you want me to give a quick intro.
Yeah, I think, go ahead with your intro. Mine was just that when we do this, we all get on the same page with
Yeah.
what that message is, what's it structured, what's the intent, what is our goals here?
Which
So,
was, yeah, a great idea, Sheriff. So Julie was working with Scott on the positions, the enforcement positions. Where they live in the budget, whether it's general fund or contract cities. And I think you've nailed those down. Are there any missing still that haven't been signed?
Well, there's some that are vacant and have been,
But
kind of,
they're assigned.
but they're signed.
Okay,
I mean, there's a position.
right. And so that's what I want our next meeting to be with all the cities. So it'll include
yeah.
the mayor and or city manager of the contract cities. Plus the mayor, and I would assume the chief of the non-contract cities. So we can just spell out for them, this is what's being billed. I think something similar was done that was instigated by Mayor Taylor. I was a mayor at the time, and I don't know what happened before I heard it, but I'm assuming it's something like this where it was pretty.
It was done.
All the mayors.
I was there.
Yeah, and said, this is what's being billed countywide, this is contract city wise, and so everyone's kind of on the same page as far as which pot of tax money is paying for that. What do you want to add?
we'll keep going first. I have a few questions. Do you have anything?
That's all I have.
So we, I don't know if Harvey and Farr known about our discussions about enforcement, or excuse me, the general fund and then the contract cities discussion. Are they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been back and forth, means in the sense of trying to figure everything out. And there was a term of subsidizing. And so the chief and I, and the other chiefs concluded that technically they're subsidizing each other. They just are. We don't have enough. And so if we go down this path, are we gonna bring that issue up? Or is it just the 32 or 35, whatever that number is, here's what you're getting? Are we gonna discuss the contract side? That's one thing I wanted to bring up too, because candidly, just to give you, you'll hear this again, probably in our budget presentation. And to determine how many officers that you should have in a jurisdiction is subjective to a lot of things. It's not necessarily 1 per 1,000 or 2 per 1,000. That's just the end result when you measure it out, like what's your call volume, what's the geography look like, what kind of crimes are having. So there's a formula for that and it works out. But what we're having, the challenge is if you separate the general fund positions out and you talk about just contract cities, remember when we discussed about Commissioner Farr about the Upper Valley, they kind of want their own numbers and it's gonna be a challenge, because if they want a police department, they're gonna need a lot compared to what we offer them. But if you take just the contract numbers that we service, it comes out to be 0.57 officers per 1,000. The next closest city, I think, is North Ogden. It's 1.1 per 1,000. Ogden City is 2 per 1,000 residents. And so you add in the 32, we're close to 1 per 1,000, but they're helping each other. And I don't believe it should be that way. The 32 or 35 should operate in the true intent of its role as under the sheriff to support the entire county. But the contract cities, candidly, commissioners are not paying their fair share. I hate that term because I don't think they should be paying a lot more and have more resources charged to them. And if they figure out that our costs are too much, I would be happy to show them how to create a successful police department.
Sheriff, can I add something right there? When you say that, they should be paying more, you're also talking about more bodies. Right?
Bodies, not the
Right.
rate, it just more
Not the ratio
positions.
that we currently have.
And Harvey, it should not be either you three doling out the general fund tax dollars to subsidize,
Right.
in my opinion.
So that,
Municipal services.
that brings up.
Yes.
Yeah. That brings up, something I did leave off, and that is for the purposes of this discussion with all the cities. We're talking about the positions that are funded right now. So
Yes.
this is a snapshot in time. This is how many positions, whether they're vacant or not, that's irrelevant to the law enforcement fund. And I know I'm just gonna keep calling it that. I know it's not, Scott. But it's gonna function like one, right? So we'll start right now, and that way we meet with the cities, we let them know this is what, your residents are being charged for your services, contract cities. This is what your residents are being charged through our property tax as a county. And this is where it is right now. Come budget time, sheriff will come and say, I need more here in contracts. Well, that's not gonna affect the cities that own contract at the site.
Shouldn't affect it.
It
Right.
shouldn't, so that's why
Right.
we wanna establish this number right now, and we'll use the number that you and Scott, Julie have separated out. And make that presentation to them, and then hopefully help them understand, because the next conversation. If your budget's approved for additional deputies for enforcement, and it's intended to go to the contract cities, if we haven't had this discussion already with all the cities, then the ones, Roy, South Ogden, North, they're all gonna, wait a minute, you know what I mean? We wanted spell that out right now, so everyone knows where we are today in today's snapshot.
Are we sure we have that number?
Well, it's just for
The
the
general
record, Scott Park came up to me and said that the general fund should be paying 75 of the positions. And I said, no, Scott, they should be more in the mid-30s. So just wanted to.
If he said that in the last week, nothing counts.
He's no longer with the county,
Last week.
at least in heart.
Sorry, I'm vacation.
I'm not privy to what
So that's
Scott and Julie have done. I don't know what number they've come up with.
So actually, we haven't worked on that in terms of this. So this is the spreadsheet that you guys have sent, Julie sent this to Commissioner Bolus. I got it from Commissioner Bolus. It was 34 positions in the general fund, but 2 of those are currently in the jail. That's Mike's position.
Correct.
And I forget who the other one is, but so there's 32 general fund in law enforcement in the jail, excuse me, not the jail budget, the corrections. I'm also.
Yeah.
So 32, and then the rest of them would be the contract cities. So the question was, and this is where I don't know that we ever finalized the discussion, was there's some that are clearly contract cities. There are some that are clearly law enforcement, general fund activities like ICAC, for example, your position, for example. And then there were some that were, well, I don't know, like is the when it was funded, the traffic unit, that's a question. Are you doing traffic in Ogden City? And so what percent, what about the canines? Are they spending 80% of the time in the contract cities and 20% of the time countywide? Is that something that we say is fine to be fun? So I thought there were a few questions still to be answered. I don't have the answers on those.
So why don't we do a session together to iron that out? And so if those questions do pop up, we can address them.
Well, yeah, cause
I
I
say
You
we,
expect those questions to pop up, so I would like to
Yes.
have it, and even if that conversation, adjusts the percentages, I'm okay with that, but I'd like for
Yeah.
you and Julie and
Scott,
whoever the new Scott is to go to the cities and say, this is what we're saying it is. We're thinking that it's 70% general fund and 30% on what at
But I-
any given.
I think in what we ran into when you came over and we were having the conversations, if we get too far in the weeds of this stuff, and Gage, you pointed it out in one meeting, that well, if we have these canines, are we gonna bill if they go to another city? And to me, that's getting too far in the weeds.
Yeah,
I think as a county, we need to stand strong on this is our number. This is what you're gonna get municipal services, regardless of whether they have a dog in the truck or whatever. This is the number, because nobody seems to care, Ogden City included, when they need us and call us. They don't really care where the money's coming from, they just want us there, and they do call us quite frequently.
yep.
Just over the weekend, the resources that we had at Causey. And the resources that we couldn't get into Causey because of the parking nightmare and the amount of people that were up there on a drowning. So my hope is that as a commission, as a sheriff's office, whatever number we land on the general fund, the sheriff can obviously override this, but we stay away from getting in the weeds too far and just say, this is our number, and these are the resources that the sheriff needs to accurately provide you services and backup as needed for the county and for the residents.
Yeah, those numbers I think will be presented in all the mutual aid, like, to me, what you're calling the weeds, I'm interpreting that as mutual aid, right?
Yeah.
There's an incident,
We all
yeah,
come
there's
together.
not billing, there's no, when you guys show up in Roy for something or vice versa, there's no billing.
But not necessarily, the weeds of not necessarily getting into, well, how much time are the
Right.
canines spending helping other jurisdictions?
Right.
Our deputies, our general fund deputies help other jurisdictions, they do general fund duties. And this is what they do, and this is the
Yeah.
number based on the population and the needs of the county that the sheriff needs and that I need to keep everybody safe in the interest of
Yeah.
public safety.
I think those separations, Scott, and I don't know. We'll just use I only use canines for an example, well, maybe I do.
Or we could
Let's
use the
use-
traffic or street crimes. like-
Let's use school resources, right?
Okay,
School resource officers, they're about 75-25.
Yep.
So that would be one. So we'd look at each of those line items and say 75-25. I was gonna say if one of those school resource officers is pulled away, but they're not allowed to, as per state statute, right?
As per Finley and the food district, you know.
But that, yeah,
Yeah.
go each line and we're not gonna talk about where we're called on this incident or that, and it'll just be generally speaking, this position spends this percentage on each side, and there will be some that.
Yeah, some are very easy, like
Yeah.
the SROs, it's very
Yeah.
easy to.
Yeah.
To account for their time because it's already spelled
Yeah.
out.
But yeah, I agree with you. We don't wanna get too detailed on that, cause then you're looking back at histories and calls and when did this person leave we don't want that.
to your point, Commissioner, about what started this ball rolling on subsidizing, if we do get into the weeds, it's gonna clearly show that we're subsidizing each
for
other,
sure.
and then you're gonna see people that are frustrated. Or could get frustrated, and that's, I've been saying that this next budget, I'm gonna ask probably 10 or 15 extra positions to go towards the contracts, not the county. Because so we can have that clearer separation of who's doing what.
And less crossover.
And that's the problem. It really is, Gage. And I guarantee you that those people in the valley, whatever's up there, they're smoking a lot of it.
They haven't given me any, so.
Shit.
Oh,
Gee. And let me be clear, the ones that I've talked to, but I'm just saying that they're gonna want a police department and then they're gonna see how it's going. They're like, we need more, we need more. And it's frustrating because I wanna give them more, but they're gonna have to pay for it.
Well, and I've told you, I'm 100% on board, even though my taxes are going up. That's just a facts of life, but
in my opinion, I think the contract cities have been getting a good deal. I think they've been underpaying and you've been over providing. I think really what, in my mind,
That's
that,
true.
and we've got to have this general, account discussion. But at the end of the day is, it comes down to level of service and who's paying for what. I think it's pretty easy to say, look, West Haven, here's the people you've got to pay for, and either pay for it or go out and set your own up. Ogden Valley, God bless you, you're gonna have your fight up there. I mean, you've got more, somebody asked me the other day, well, we shouldn't have to pay too much because we don't have that many incidents. Well, you've got more lane miles to patrol. I said, they're coming from 12th Street to get up there. I say that adds at least 30 minutes on a good day.
Well, from north,
30 minutes going home. So I said, if the sheriff is putting these numbers together right, you're gonna be surprised at the cost. I said, don't be surprised.
naturally, everybody wants a good deal.
Well, they do.
Or they want someone else to pay for it, but we need to stop doing that.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. If you come up with real numbers that, when I say real numbers, numbers that we can justify for a level of service, and then it's their choice. It's their choice whether they go out, and the people in the valley are probably crazy enough, then hopefully they just go out and hire Morgan, but anyway. They'll have the ability to say, do we set up our own police force? And that's the only alternative. Now, whether they'll ever have enough smarts up there to realize what it's gonna cost them, I don't know, but you need to paint that picture for them. Here's our cost. If you think you can do better, knock yourself out.
Right.
And until you do that, you're caught between, I mean, I've been in those meetings with the cities now a couple times, maybe more. And, they obviously want the best deal. And they've got budgets, but I think it's time that we stop. I'm not gonna call it subsidizing. I'm gonna call it, I think it's time that they should pay their fair share
Yes.
for their service. End of story.
Well, and what they need to realize too, and I've talked with Commissioner Bolos on this, and you're right, Commissioner, is it's interesting, and I know the fire chief was just in here, but people don't mind paying firemen to sit in a fire station for 24 hours a day and play Xbox. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're doing nothing. But they don't want to pay us. When we say we need 5 in the Upper Valley on one shift, waiting for something to happen, yes, we do. We need 5 people up there waiting for something to happen. And you may have to pay them for 6 months and nothing happened. But you have to have them there. It's the same principle with the fire department. We're paying guys to play Xbox, eat good dinner, sit in recliners, wash fire trucks.
There's no animosity here.
And
They're building a shed right now, so let's give them a little break.
Right, but that is also part of that picture that we have to paint.
I'm just kidding you, no.
Yeah.
So the purpose of the city meeting will be to essentially do what was done however many years ago. Back when I was at West Haven, establish that number, set it again. Maybe it doesn't change. Right now, I'm looking at the spreadsheet that you two have been working on, and I have total, it looks like 80 if I'm doing my math right.
But 2 of those are in the jail, so
Okay,
they're in there, so 78.
but there aren't any others that are unable to assign. So if the 4 of you would get together and just establish that, or whoever the new Scott is.
Well, and this is gonna be the question, which is why we wanted the cities on board, because you've got some cities and I think it just is an explanation of, well, I don't want you doing traffic
Yeah.
patrolling in my city, so why am I getting charged for 2 traffic patrol officers? And I think
And
that
so
that
you answer
government
that, and then
control,
you'll be able to answer
so
that.
we just need to be able to answer those questions, and I buy the argument that there's, yeah. But we need to be ready to have that discussion, so we can say, okay, these are the positions, maybe we start with the easy ones like
Mhm.
ICAC or,
Yep.
or grant funded or whatever, then you get search and rescue, and then maybe you get down to the hard ones, however you guys wanna do it. But in the end of the day, we say, these are the positions, and I'm just gonna say there's 34, let's just say, I don't know whether that is, or is it
Mhm.
just a placeholder? And then all the rest of it's gonna be contract cities, and so if sheriff asks for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 more deputies, that doesn't change the county allocation, the county general fund pays
Correct.
0 more, it's
Correct.
all gonna be rolled into the contracts for the cities.
Or if he says, I need another ICAC detective. then we-
Detective.
Detective.
Yes, and then he
Then we
would come
know
back to the
that.
commissioners,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
we-
same thing.
New position,
It's a
Gage.
new position.
Okay.
It's like a little step above. But we had this conversation, you and I did about ICAT. And, you know, if we need a new position there, then we know where that goes, right? Oh, here's a new position, it goes to ICAC, it's fully
Yeah.
funded by the general fund, you know.
So, and I think each new position, if I
Yep.
could, we wanted the law enforcement fund to help separate it out. I'm fine, we can accomplish the same thing in the general fund, but it still needs to be tagged, whether it's a project
Yeah.
code or an activity
Yes.
code or whatever. This is a
Totally.
general fund, this is a law enforcement fund. And then we still, even after we get this number settled, we need to watch it in 5 years from now. We need to have the same conversation internally again and say, is this still a valid assumption? Has something shifted so that now we're doing way more or way less?
That's what I want to happen,
Existing
because
assumptions.
the last conversation that was had like this was
Use them.
in what year?
2017.
2017. Well, that's too long, I think.
So to be clear, what you want is for when we come budget requests, we're requesting this many general fund, we're requesting this many.
Yeah.
Contract
But-
cities, and as long as we
but-
divide those out, and then we will earmark each of those positions. Somehow,
Yeah, but it's like when you come and ask for a grant right now, we don't, if you say, I want another $400,000 of expenses approved because I have a $400,000 grant, that sails through budget because there's no tax dollars for that, right?
Correct.
So it's the same thing. I need these resources for contract cities, not for general fund, but for contract cities to realize they're in the same fund.
Yeah.
Then it's an easy, because you go out and you get the cities to pay, and if they pay, you've got the money. If they don't pay, you don't have the money, right? If
Right.
West Haven says I'm out because I'm gonna do my own, then okay, thanks.
And the explanation, Scott, that you're referring to is easy for the sheriff and I, so.
Yeah,
And if the contract cities collectively say, you know what, we wanna double our force, all of us, we're all agreed to pay, you know,
Happy day.
go for it.
go for it. Yeah, but that's not falling on the county's general fund. But hopefully when we're more fully staffed, you're not having to switch people back and forth between general fund and county or patrols so often that it's hard
So
to
much
get
coverage.
track.
I think we'll be
well,
better able to separate it when we
Yeah.
get to that point.
And right now, there's a rebate that goes to the contract cities. You calculate a rebate, right?
well, this year is actually a charge.
Yeah, normally there's a rebate, but this year.
But the rebates I know also started when I was the mayor. It would be the same for the general fund, right? Well, we had this position empty all year, so slides back into the general fund.
Yeah, yeah, because you would, like in the same instance, I only have one ICAC officer, but we couldn't hire two for whatever reason, okay, the general fund gets that credit back, it doesn't get split between the contract
Yeah.
cities.
So yeah, I think the whole point is let's do this more often than every,
And I'm
know.
thinking that Oracle's probably the best place to. Earmark those.
If they'll track their time that way, yeah, if they'll actually use.
So
activity
like,
codes.
I mean, even just a very generic, like instead of putting enforcement, they put general fund. You know, you're a general fund deputy,
Mhm.
you put that in when you enter your time.
Well, that was the concept of the law enforcement fund is, and let's actually split the org code so that it was
Yeah.
easier. I mean, I still think in the long run, that's the easiest way to do it, but I'm not, I mean, it's an
It'd be-
accounting issue, it's not.
yeah.
It'd be awesome if we could have tracking of where the vehicle is.
Yeah.
For them and. have
We
them
tried
that once
solved.
before, it didn't work, right?
It had, there's some issues with it, yeah, but you're right. 'Cause
Just have this fantastic new system we keep paying all this money for.
we do. keep
It ought
a
to
lot
be
of
able
money
to,
for it.
it ought to be able to make frosting for whatever kind of biscuit that we've got, you know?
Well, but I think the
Keep
chief,
that in mind for budget, Commissioner. I may have something coming in budget that'll
There's some
help track some
Yeah.
patrol vehicles, so.
Uh-oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
So just real quick as a visualization, so this black line horizontalish is the county itself, just the county. So when you look at the statute of what I'm required to do, keep the peace, arrest, blah, 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 you go through all these lines. There is a layer of service that we provide the whole county. I call a thin layer. Everybody gets it, no matter what, right? We'll call that the general fund. Is this one right here. So Ogden, back in 150 years ago, this was not good enough for them.
Mhm.
So they have their own, right? So this is their level of service that they've opted to have. Roy has the same, right? They've opted an additional level of service. Right? And you go through all these other cities and I'm not, nothing just random with, service.
They stood up their own department.
Above what we provide, yes, they stood up their own. So you get into the contract cities, candidly, it's like this. Right? This is what they've asked for, and this is what we provide. But to the point what we're discussing, all this thin layer is migrated to help them. And less, which we need that clear division, right? So when guys come on to patrol, you know, you three are assigned or four, cover the whole county to shift. Just float everywhere, go as needed. And then the other 8 or 10, they should be contract city. But the general fund can still back up contract cities. I mean, that's typical because it's that thin layer that everybody gets. So this is how I wanted to kind of give you that visual. This is all general fund. This is that thin layer that we spread way across that everybody gets. And we'll be able to discuss that in the meeting.
Yeah. And we have that built in now. We have roller cars now that aren't assigned to a contract city, an area or anything. They just roll the entire county. When staffing allows, so.
Yeah.
They play Xbox in their cars.
So that's the number we need to have before we bring the decision or wait.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the concept of everything we're talking about is all the same. The issue that I wanted to make sure when we originally brought this up is that, yeah, you have those few contract cities that were asking for this level of service, but they were actually getting this level of service because they were drawing the difference from the contract, or excuse me, from the general fund line. And that's what we want to try to stop. And that way, when the sheriff asks for more resources, we know where they're going to. This has got to be a contract city resource. This is going to be a county general fund resource because it's IPAC or whatever. So I think we're on the same page with the concept. Now it's just, let's figure out what the numbers are.
And how to track it. I mean, that's gonna be the big
Yeah.
thing is how do I track which position belongs in which one?
Because they're gonna change, right?
But until then, because they're overlapping, we're gonna have a lot of 70-30, 70-20, 70-30s, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's okay, because I think if things change during the next budget cycle,
Mhm.
we could probably delineate more.
Yeah.
Right? We
Yeah.
could,
Well, and the
I
more we
see.
get fully staffed, the easier it is to.
Hypothetically, if we had 20 positions for the contract cities, and that's all spread out, that line between general fund and the
It's thinner
contract
there.
cities is
Yeah.
very clear.
You had 20.
20 more. Because when you look at the numbers of the crime, I told you that Ogden City has 2 officers per 1,000. Because of their crime volume, but that's just what it ends up to. Everyone else is 1 or a little more. But until we have that line drawn and that I estimate on the low end, 20 is what the contract cities need additionally to what so they pay for 46-ish now. So if we had 66, that's would be very well, and we could clear that line. And so we can dedicate the sources that we need. The general fund can be justifiable. Because it's right. Some of those city managers are like, yeah, we know general fund pays for yeah, they do, but it goes the other way too, because contract cities don't want to pay for other positions. So we're stuck. So yes, thank you.
It
Yes,
accomplishes a lot of things, including the ability to give the contract cities more than we ask for.
yes.
Yeah.
In a very straightforward manner, right? Add it to the
But those-
budget, they pay for it.
Yeah, but they'll still save a lot of money
Oh, yeah.
combining resources.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Not one police department can start on its own anything less than double than what we charge them now. And that's without infrastructure. So when they complain, sorry, if they bitch and moan, go on your own. It'll be, if you're paying 1 million, you're gonna pay 2 million or 2.5 to get your own police department.
Well, and that's the discussion when it gets hard.
Yes.
And that's when you gotta stand up and
Yes.
say, yeah, okay, there's the door, here's the
Yes.
number,
Mhm.
because it's not fair for the general fund.
Yes.
And you want that level of service, pay for it.
Because
And I know that's a tough discussion.
Ogden has a lot of resources, but they need us.
Yeah.
At times, and we gotta have it for them.
No, and I understand that, but I think if we
Yeah.
have that tough conversation with the contract cities, we start getting where we wanna be.
And I think 90% of the contract cities, it won't even be a tough discussion. They know.
They know they
They
need
know.
smoking deals.
I think they know, but they don't.
They know, but they don't wanna.
They know, they just don't have to.
Yeah.
Tax to pay for it.
Chris?
To start off the discussion as well by citing the statute that says it's illegal to subsidize with the general
Yeah,
fund.
yeah.
So there's a particular statute in 1734.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you send that to me? I think you just gave me an early Christmas gift.
So now, the one thing that, and admittedly, this won't be my issue to solve. When we get down the road and
Why
we're
not?
doing this, I'm going to Davis County, as you're aware.
I haven't heard.
Oh, okay. there's gonna be cities saying, well, wait a second, I paid for 66. And collectively, we paid for 66, but because you had staffing shortages, I only got 60, so. I want credit back for those 6 that you didn't hire, so there's gonna be the rebate question, just like there is now, and it's an appropriate question, it really is. And so. While I'm not pushing for the law enforcement funds today, I do think in the long run, once we get this, that will be the easiest way to track this. It just is an accounting thing. It doesn't have to change anything the way the operations are done. It will have some assumptions that have to be made, and that'll fall to you, Julie, to say, okay, how am I dividing these invoices up between the contract cities?
It
especially?
complicates my life.
Yeah, but in the end, we've got to figure out some way, whether it's a separate fund or whether it's a spreadsheet that's really complex. It's just got to be a way that we can show and be transparent to the contract cities of, this is why your share is this. And yeah, we had 66 funded, but we only had 60, and so here's the 6 rebate,
It's
comes
no
back.
different than what they would do if Ogden doesn't have full positions in their police department. Then their general fund as a city gets reimbursed because they didn't pay for that year. It's no
True.
different than.
True, but the difference is that Ogden just never spends the money, whereas we're still charging them.
Right.
We're getting the check, and then we're saying, well, actually, I didn't spend the money after I collected
So you're
from you,
giving it
so
back.
I either need to give you some back or reduce your next month's bill or
It
whatever.
was living in 2 different entities.
Yeah, living in 2 different entities. So we just need to make sure that the accounting for that is,
It's actually not true, because the 4th billing we send them every year is the reconciled bill.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So they're
Yeah.
paying you, or
So-
you're paying them back by reducing what they have to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
So we give them an estimate of this is how much we think it's gonna be. That's the amount they get for 3 quarters. The 4th quarter is
That amount
reconciled.
usually
Yeah.
minus, but in this instance.
And
plus.
It's funny they don't know that, remember that or think about it.
Well, even when you itemize it out on a different
Yeah.
line on the invoice, they don't.
Okay, all right, well then, whoever you're gonna pass this information along to, Julie.
Yep.
Chief, Sheriff.
Yep. Okay,
We'll get it.
what is our timeline?
I'd like to get it scheduled before we start our budget, so
Okay.
mid-August or spring week maybe.
Or you got another meeting after this?
I have one.
Okay, we're done.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
The chief said I just opened this. And we're talking, so I don't know if.
You have heard, but,
I think
we
so.
have a feeling we'll get over to this.
See that.
6 is your agenda.
I thought I told you that I opened it.
Good to see you, Gage. Take care.
I just deleted, you got a lot better than I got.
I feel bad for him when he has to work with those people in Valley.
Just, I don't know.
Did you get this email from this?
We'll take the heat.
Let me, hey, let's go to our closed session. Should we do that?
Yeah,
We have our next item is closed session to discuss purchase, lease, or exchange of real property.
motion to go to closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Motion carries. We're in closed session.